Hello and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris.
And I'm Sharad Kutin.
Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Sharad and I are in Sarawak. We are joining you from Riverside Majestic Hotel in Kuching. And our guest today is Member of Parliament for Stampin Sarawak, Chong. He is also the chairperson for Sarawak DAP and chief of Sarawak Pakatan Harapan. Formerly the Deputy Minister of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs during the Pakatan Harapan administration, and currently contesting the state legislative seat of Padungan in this weekend's Sarawak elections. Welcome to the show. It's good of you to join us.
Thank you.
Chong, PH Sarawak, I want to talk about that because through DAP and PKR, had won 10 seats in 2016. And that was already down from the 15 seats it had won in 2011. I'm just wondering whether this denotes a downtrend in Sarawak PH's performance electorally.
If you look at the elections results from 2011 to 2016, I think one key factor that you have to consider is the change of the chief minister at that time. In 2011, I think at that time it was Taib Mahmud who was the chief minister at that time, and I believe it's a bit. I believe at that time he has overstayed his welcome, and that was why the result was. We have increased from the previous 7, almost double it, to 15. Then in 2013, after the general election, where Barisan Nasional Sarawak did not do so well in the general elections also, then Taib decided to retire, step down, and then came along this the late Adnan Satem. When the late Adnan Satem took over, I think he did implement a lot of more people-friendly policies, and which was well received by the people. And we as the opposition, we also appreciate what he has done, like abolished toll bridge, and implemented things like reducing the electricity tariff, which in fact was one of the thing that we had spoken about. So a lot of the things that we have spoken about or complained about against the government, he actually took notice of that and implemented what we suggested, and credits go to him. Yeah, so then came the elections in 2016. So that's when we lost a few seats and back to 10 seats. Yeah, so that was the history about it. Yeah.
Right, so when the state government, and then Barisan Nasional and then GPS, performs well in terms of these individual issues, does it translate into electoral setbacks for the opposition? Is the opposition's offering to the Sarawak population based on these individual ideas or issue-based, or is it something larger that the opposition is offering, which isn't affected by either the popularity of the chief minister or specific policies that he implements?
Yeah, I think for the performance of any elections, there are a combination of factors. You see, you have certain policies, certain principles that you stood for, and which certain sector of the electorate, they recognize that, they appreciate that, they will support you for that. And there are also some middle ground whom will decide according to popularity of the leaders of the coalition. So I believe those are all combination of factors. So otherwise we would not, if popularity alone is the factor, the determinant factor, we would not have won 10 seats.
On that that note
Yeah.
of popularity, if I may ask you about brand recognition, so Pakatan Harapan Sarawak chose not to contest under
Yes.
one logo,
Yes.
choosing separate logos for the ballot paper. Does that mean that the brand of DAP, for instance, is more recognizable than, say, the brand of Pakatan Harapan here in Sarawak?
I would think so, because DAP has been here for 43 years. And a lot of people, they know DAP, whether they support or otherwise, they know that it's DAP. Whereas Pakatan Harapan came into existence only after 2018. And during the time when we were government, I mean, we are so taken in and so busy implementing, trying to reform the countries, implementing policies, learning to be the government. So we have less time to promote the brand Pakatan Harapan. And also along the way, when we implement these reforms, you step on the toes of a lot of people as well. So therefore, I think at the moment, I think the brand of DAP, the rocket sign, and even PKR, the blue moon sign.
Do you want to elaborate on that, on what reforms step on people's toes?
All right, open tenders, like what Tony Poa has done. Review the MRT2 projects, whereby he saved about 8 billion. So, I mean, the contractor, the turnkey contractor are not happy about it. So that's why Mahathir came out with in his memoir or something like that,
Right.
saying that they received phone calls saying that Tony Poa tried to bully the contractor. So but he's doing it to save the country money. So he has saved billions. And in Sarawak here, you have the LBU being terminated as the PDP for Pan-Borneo Highway. Thereby, we saved about 3 billion for the country. So, of course, these people who has got the contract, they do have a lot of very strong cables to the top, right to the top. All right, and their connection is so entrenched, not only at that time to Najib, but even along the way, all the KSU. Right. So I mean, when you step on the toes of a lot of these people, they try to sabotage or even try to badmouth you. So, I mean, those are one aspect of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you this, John, because on the way from the airport, I saw a post that says, DAP Chap Lama, which is actually was a positive kind of poster, right? It was about, this is the trust, Pilihan Tepat, right? The idea that this is the brand that you know and go for it.
That's right.
Because there's a very crowded field this time. And the idea of a united opposition against the incumbent is not here,
it's not
right?
there.
How will this play out for you? You are yourself in a four-corner fight,
Yes.
right? Tell us a little bit about the impact of this. Some of the parties are going for like 70 seats. How will it impact DAP and Pakatan here?
Surely, I think there will be some vote splitting. But if you look at it from the other angle, there are mainly two parties that purports to claim that claims to want to go for power, and that they are contesting about 70 seats. All right. Besides the Pakatan Harapan and the
Parti Bumi
GPS.
Kenyalan.
One is Parti Bumi Kenyalan, who is going for independence. The other one is PSB, who is formerly under Wong Sun Ko. So there will definitely be some vote splitting in all the constituencies. Mostly, I think a greater portion of the vote that they will get is from opposition, right? Because those who are not happy with the establishment. But if you look at PSB's support base, they are originally from Barisan Nasional, because Wong Sun Ko came out from SUPP, and he was before PSB was formed. His was UPP. UPP was a splinter group from the SUPP. They took away the S. All right. So basically, the support base comes from the Barisan Nasional. So he may have, I think it's reasonable to expect that he may have pulled away some of the Barisan Nasional voters to go along with him.
So what
PSB.
I want to ask you, do you think as a consequence that you're going to have a weaker chance at either making a dent on the GPS power base or even taking over the state? I mean, should there have been work towards a united opposition?
Yeah, we try. It's not that we don't want to try. Like for PBK, they said our one and only agenda is going for independence of Sarawak. All right, it would be quite disastrous if we go along with that agenda, because that is not I truly believe that at this moment, all right, independence of Sarawak may not be beneficial to the people of Sarawak, because that is not the thing that we need at the moment. You see, what the futures behold, we don't know. All right, 10 years, 15 years down the line, maybe it may be a viable option for Sarawak to go for independence, or may not be. All right, but at the moment, I think in Sarawak, where you have the ruling party who is still almighty, so powerful, and a lot of rural voters who don't really understand the concept of democracy. I believe you have heard that there's a lot of money politics, vote buying. When the votes can be bought with 500 ringgit or 200 ringgit, how safe is it to go for independence? Is it so? I believe at the moment it may not be beneficial for Sarawakians, I would say, Sarawakians, the common Sarawakians, to go for independence. So we can't work with such a party. All right, we can't work with such a party. Then that is PBK. And in respect of PSB, all right, we have tried, but their financier, the financier behind them, it's basically, they were the financier for the previous Barisan Nasional. So ultimately, I don't know how.
But you have said that you haven't ruled out work cooperation with them, right?
I have not ruled out. I have not ruled out. But I was talking about before the nomination day, because you were asking whether we should work together to fight the election as one.
Is it with
all
the
right?
electoral pact?
There are limitations to it, like PBK, totally different ideology. All right, PSB, okay, the way we have embarked on the negotiation, I think, for a year, all right, because we anticipated election last.
Yes,
this year,
yes,
last year October.
It was much anticipated.
So we have several rounds of negotiation, but at the end of the day, I think they were asking for a lot of seats, even something like Kota Sentosa, our incumbent seat. Okay, so we want to cooperate, but we were afraid that if we give out certain seats that we could win, we have a chance of winning. And then at the end of the day, it may become a friendly match between PSB and GPS. Whoever wins, they come back among other.
Okay.
That is the reservation and the worries that we have.
Okay.
So with that in mind, all right, at least amongst the Pakatan Harapan parties, PKR, DAP, and Amanah, we managed to struck the deal. We managed to come to the agreement that we will not contest against each other.
Okay.
So that's why I think to a certain extent there is some electoral pact among some of the opposition party, and hopefully with that it will increase our chances of winning.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but let's come back and continue
Okay,
this
sure, no worries,
conversation
no worries.
more with the MP of Stampin after this. Stay tuned to consider this. welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris. With me is Sharad Kutin joining you from Riverside Majestic Hotel in Sarawak. Our guest today is Tampin MP Chong Chieng, also the chairperson for Sarawak DAP and chief for Sarawak Pakatan Harapan. I just want to come back to your perhaps electoral platform, your manifesto, so to speak. Some of the comments you've made in the media, you've been accused of being anti-development because of comments that you've made talking about a white elephant project, saying that if you won, if Pakatan Harapan won, that you will not be pursuing white elephant projects in Sarawak. Could you elaborate a little bit what you meant by that?
Okay, all right. Well, when I mentioned these white elephant projects, one of which is the setting up of a Sarawak government airline company. All right, we know airline company is not such an easy business to run, and most of the airline companies are making losses, except some exceptional ones. All right, why would Sarawak government embark on such an airline business? Just to serve the rurals and rural areas. And rural areas, you know, those are not the money-making routes, flights that will generate profit for the company. Okay, that's one. That's one of white elephant projects. And once you set it up, I think it will continue to bleed for the maintenance. Number two is a telco company. A Sarawak-owned telco company. Why? Because he says that, Abanjo says that, we want to give rural people access to telecom service, to internet, to telephone lines, all this. Okay, instead of setting up a telco company, why don't you go and talk to the existing telco companies? There are 4 of them. If they provide sufficient competitions among them to negotiate a good deal, the government counts a certain amount of money. All right, to run a telco company, I mean, Sarawak has a population of 3 million. All right, with such a small consumer base, how is a telco company going to make money? It just doesn't make sense. Okay, so the other thing is that.
So what do you think is the reasoning behind it? Is it partly about wanting as a kind of sovereign territory to have your own thing? You have your own airline, you have your own telco, you have your own metro system in the city.
I know. I think it's more ego. He wants a legacy. He wants to leave behind a legacy. Hey, this is Abanjo's thing. All right? Just like LRT. In fact, now it has been downsized to ART. Before that, he was suggesting LRT from Serian right down to Chieng, right down to Santubong. It just doesn't make sense, and that would cost about 11 billion. So later on, it scaled down to, okay, we don't want, we objected. We objected, so he gave in. So okay, we go for ART, automated rail transit. And to me, I think it is still an over-ambitious policy that it will cost the taxpayer a bomb.
But might these projects perhaps look to even out the urban-rural divide, to bring development to the state, to I guess spread out the development, not just focusing at urban areas?
No, the ART is going to be the urban thing.
It's urban center.
It is an urban center. You don't build the ART in the rural area.
But other development projects but other development projects.
We are not talking about we are not talking about stopping the roads building projects, but of course, I mean, we may review, just like what we did to Pemborneo Highway. We don't stop the project, but we review and take away the middleman, the PDP.
Okay, I want to ask you this. I mean, you make an argument, right, based on whether this is a sound business proposition or not, right? I mean, that makes sense. I do want to ask you, though, how does this play out with the voter? Do the voters want to see Chieng with an LRT system? Do they want to see these things? Who's being more persuasive? Whether it makes sense or not, who's more persuasive?
I think as a urban voters, I think they will understand, because Chieng people, there are a lot of them are in the business. Businessmen, they know how to count. Right? When we talk about, in fact, when he suggested LRT, even before the thought registered in my mind, people has been texting me, "Wendy, this is crazy. How can you sustain an LRT in Kuching? You know." So I think for the electoral base in Kuching, Cebu, and Miri, I think this the urban people, they understand what it is about. Even when Abanjo say, you know, we suggested free buses, right? Have a good public bus system to serve the commuters especially. Instead of implementing the idea, Abanjo went one step forward to say, I want a hydrogen bus system. All right, bought two hydrogen bus, breaks down on and off here and there. Instead of having a public bus transport system, he has a two problematic hydrogen bus. I mean, these are not practical idea, and that's why I always joke with him about, you know, you have hot air. You have a lot of hot air.
So I want to focus on the urban seats because that's predominantly your area, right? The Page Sarawak won mostly urban seats. And I wanted to ask you about the issues that voters are facing and what might be central for voters as they go to the ballot box. One of the things we've been talking about has been out-migration of young people because of lack of opportunity in Sarawak, perhaps underemployment in Sarawak, even unemployment in Sarawak. How have you been addressing that as your time as an MP, as your time as a serving politician in this constituency?
I think what we have been championing about is more equitable these economic opportunities for the people. All right. I mean, we have abundant land. We have a lot of resources. All this while, I think the natural resources has been concentrated in the hands of a few, the elitist group of Barisan Nasional. And during Taib's time, it's even worse. I can quote you some examples. There are 300 over bridges. With a stroke of one contract, all 300 over bridges, the contract work is awarded to one company, and that's it. You know, so I think these are very unfair economic policies. So we fought along that line. Right? We fought along a more socialist line. Natural resources should be shared amongst the people, but even like industrial land, plots of industrial land where government has assigned an area for industrial development. Instead of those industrialists who want to go and apply for land, they normally what transpires is that the cronies will get the land, sit there, squat, hog the land, and those who really want to go into this manufacturing or industrial activities, they have to approach these people and then buy at a high premium. So I think these are along the line, you know, more equitable economic opportunity. You see, by concentrating our resources in the hands of few, one of the consequence is that a lot of young people will not have job. You see, you don't have a large pool of entrepreneurs. You have a very concentrated few super rich, and that is not good for the country. That's not good for the state. So that is the policy that we have been fighting along.
Right. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. We appreciate your time. Thank you. That was
25 minutes already?
Yes.
Indeed.
That was our conversation with Stumpin MP Chong Chen. He is the chairperson of Sarawak DAP as well as the chair for Sarawak PH. That wraps up our episode of Consider This for tonight. I'm Melissa Idris.
And I'm Sharad Kuttan, signing off for the evening.
We'll see you same time tomorrow. Till then, good night.
Good night.